So what's going on, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen? The ACMJS Gamer here. Today we're here to look at this article that I found on Facebook. The original post was, sorry for all the suckers who pre-ordered Assassin's Creed Origins, and this kind of got my attention. 15 reasons Assassin's Creed Origins is going to suck. Now, I started reading some of them, and a lot of them were kind of interesting reasons, but they didn't really make a point or something that they addressed had already been addressed by Ubisoft or the game developers or what have you. So here, first reason we have is Ubisoft is too bad at level design for this, and they were saying that let's see, Assassin's Creed Origins takes away from players' enjoyment of fighting previously visited locations with ease. Minimap in the corner makes it far easier for players to orient themselves with objective markers as opposed to navigating a menu. Now here's the thing. When they came out with this whole thing, when it was first premiered over at E3, or on E3, a lot of people actually liked the custom marker because a lot of RPGs, Horizon Zero Dawn and The Witcher 3 and Skyrim, all have the sort of like quest bar, if you will, and it tells you where certain locations are. I don't think this is a bad thing. I think this is a good thing because without having the mini map in the corner, you won't. I mean, you'll be discovering things on your own using the bar instead of, hey, here's a mini map, and then like, oh, I can see everything around me. Ubisoft wants you to explore the world, to enjoy the events. They don't want to spoil it by saying, oh, hey, here's the minimap, here's your exact location, here it is. Like, they don't want to spoil that. They want you to get the enjoyment of doing it yourselves. And I actually agree with Ubisoft on this. I would prefer the quest bar compared to the minimap. So these are just my opinions. They're focusing too much on crafting. Let's see, can I do that? Yeah, that's fine. New emphasis on being placed on collecting loot, which is broken down a number of ways. Primary basis of it, however, is craft better gear. Well, this isn't necessarily entirely true. I'm not sure because we haven't had anything released from the story. I'm not sure if you actually like physically have to go through and craft better gear. I know that just by going through loot chests and boxes and looting enemies and whatnot and all that, you can actually gain loot by not crafting it. Now, whether or not the game forces you to actually create it to go through the main story, I don't know. If they do, I don't think it'll be that big of a deal. Plus, this is the type of thing that was in Assassin's Creed 4 that when they first introduced, I really liked it. This is in Far Cry Primal, it's in Red Dead Redemption, it's in The Witcher. Actually, is it? Yeah, it is. Well, not hunting boars and whatnot, but gaining certain materials to craft things. It's all in there. So, I mean, I don't think that they're focusing too much on anything. It's just an RPG element that just so happens to be there. Drone Simulator Eagle Edition. So this one was, you can basically say, oh, hey, look, they replaced the drone from Ghost Recon Wildlands and they put it with Senu. Yeah, they kind of did, but at the same time, as the origin story for Assassin's Creed, this is where the literal term of eagle vision came from. That this is the literal term of eagle vision. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense with the lore and the way that they do it. How they explain that Bayek has the ability to control arrows and tame animals and whatnot will, I'm hoping, be discovered through the game. But still, still interesting. Massive and empty. Now, this is a problem that happened with Ghost Recon Wildlands. There was a lot of emptiness within Wildlands. However, it was still fun to travel through. Even if it may not be populated, the environment is still there, and it's very... In Recon Wildlands, it's very fun to just go through and travel to get from point A to point B and to see like all of this. You immerse yourself within the environment, so it's not necessarily a bad thing, but there will be a problem if there's too much of it. but I mean, like I said, we'll see. We haven't seen the full game, so it just kind of depends on this. Less stealth and more combat. Now, see, I have to disagree with this because they revamped the combat. They completely changed it, but they also improved the stealth. With the skill trees, you can actually improve what you're doing. There's actually a crouch button. You are able to put on and off your hood. Using the bow is a stealth weapon. I'm not entirely sure, but I know that a majority of the missions that you go on, you designate how they happen. If you happen to go into a camp and, you go in and you get caught, that's your choice to fight. You can actually get out of that camp, let them, go back to their regular alertness or whatever, and then try again and go in and complete the whole camp stealthy. So that's not necessarily true. Emphasized one thing, the revamped combat. Yes, it has done that. But they have shown stealth missions. They have. Game of loot. While this is true, you don't necessarily I mean, yeah, you have to collect materials and items, but that's in every game. I don't understand. It's not necessarily amount throughout the massive adventure. Game presents complicated loot systems, more welcome. Too much loot in the wrong game can break the roleplay illusion down into a mess of tedium and regret. Two unwelcome qualities. Not, I mean, yes and no. If you guys have ever heard of the term of grinding, or like a grinding game like Dark Souls, that's all Dark Souls is about, is grinding. You're getting more souls to upgrade or to get better armor to help you throughout the game. I mean, this is just any game, really. Rampant microtransactions. This one I'm gonna have to agree with. While we haven't, I don't think I've seen anything on microtransactions. I think at the beginning they originally said that they weren't going to do them, but I mean, they may be now, and I'm not sure on that. Overused skill trees. Now here is one thing. I do agree that skill trees are overused. I personally don't like skill trees, but I mean, at the same time, it works with RPGs, so this is fine with me. I still would have been interested to see a different version of this game where there's no skill tree whatsoever, and instead of doing this, you actually go to like a mentor or a friend who teaches you how to do these different things that you don't necessarily have to do in the main game. If you guys remember Assassin's Creed 2, Mario taught Ezio how to do the parry, how to block, how to counter. He did all of those things. How to disarm, He taught Ezio all of those, and I think it'd be cool to have a character that did that. But I mean, it will be interesting. It does give you a certain purpose in the game. If you want to go through and actually unlock all 3 of the tiers, you can do that, and that adds replayability to the game. You can have up to like 3 profiles, I believe, and my initial one, I'm going to go with Master, or I'm going to go with Warrior, and probably a mix. I want to say I'm going to do a mix of all 3, because there's some Seer stuff that are pretty good, and there's some Master Hunter stuff that's pretty good, but majority of my stuff I think is going to be a mix of everything, with the majority of like it being Master. And then I want to do a couple more playthroughs on my own, not on this channel. On this channel, my main game is going to be the Master. But yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing another game that doesn't use skill trees. Like Far Cry used it, Recon Wildlands used it. But yeah, do-it-yourself hidden blades. How is this? Each game weapon automatically fitted to the player as a means of stealthily assassinating targets. The preferred many players have its ability to kill unaware targets, save for scripted bosses encounters. Hidden Blade is something that's still used, but because of the progression-based leveling system, there is a catch. In order to stealthily assassinate the toughest enemies in the game, players will be required to scour the world hunting for resources to craft the ultimate Hidden Blade. By doing this, developers are artificially extending the length of the game for something that used to be commonplace in this series. Well, I mean, while he does make a valid point on this one, I will say that it kind of takes the fun out of the game just by being able to one-shot every single person. While that is realistic, I will say I do like realism. While that is realistic that you can one-shot everybody, it makes the game a little bit more challenging to not be able to do that. And I, for one, respect Ubisoft for that, because it did used to be back in the day that you could one-hit a boss, especially the way that they've revved amped the stealth gameplay in this particular game, especially the way that they've done that. You could easily probably have the opportunity to one-hit kill an enemy boss. But I think that it would be a lot easier. I do agree. What they're saying basically is, or no, wait, do I? No, I don't. I don't agree with what they're saying. The Hidden Blade should not be one hit. If they happen to get a hit on a boss who's like 2 or 3 levels higher than him, it should take away a quarter of his health. Maybe not even that. I don't know. Let's see. A leveling experience. Quest and leveling system is being completely revitalized. Now players will be granted experience points for each quest completed, which contribute to their level and allow them access to better gear. Yes. Also leveled in an interest of gradual character progression. Subversion of the original vision, my bad. Induced gradually over time. Hard base progression both opens up yet also muddles down the experience of the game. Sometimes too much choice takes away from the narrative. Focus emphasized in the past while also blocking off large parts of the game until its systems deem players ready. I do agree with that. However, I don't think that's the case. While yes, I do agree that if you have an open world and then you block a certain section off and you say you can't go here, yes, it breaks the immersion of the player. However, that's not the case with this game. I'm pretty sure you can travel wherever. I think the only thing... I'm pretty sure you can travel wherever, because even if like you're level 2 or 3, I'm fairly certain that you can go off and do whatever. If you encounter like a level 2 or 3, or if you encounter like a level 15 guard, there's no way you're going to kill him. You're going to end up dead. So yes, you can try and go to other areas and do whatever, in whatever story, whatever way you want to do it. But it's just you do have to upgrade yourself. I mean, technically yes, you can do that. And I, for one, also agree that that's kind of stupid how some games are like, oh, yeah, well, you can't go here because it's restricted when I'm trying to do like something like I think it was Assassin's Creed 2. We couldn't finish the viewpoint towers because Rome was still locked off until we completed sequence 9, 10, something like that. Goodbye replayability. How is this goodbye? Everything. Hold on, I'm going to read their statement in a second. I just want to say, I don't know how it's goodbye replayability when you can literally go through and do different things every time. What do I mean by that? They give you 3 profiles. 3 profiles. You can go through once. I mean, heck, you could probably go through the game with only mastering 1 tree at a time. If you wanted to do 3 profiles, you could do one with only going hunter, only master, or only warrior, and only seer if you want. Plus, there's 3 different gameplay game difficulties, so if you want, you could do a whole 3 profiles on that too. Quest-based structure often left to the wayside when it comes to playing previously completed missions. One of the mainstays has always been being able to replay the past memory sequences. Less likely of being a reality. Everything about this game feeds into complex progression system. Yes, I will agree that I don't like... Okay, I see where they're going with this now. While I agree, I don't like that you can't replay the missions, but it kind of makes sense if you think about it with the way that they're doing this game. I do believe they said they are thinking about doing a New Game Plus. For those of you who don't know what New Game Plus is, it's where you restart the game, but with your character, with like end game loot and whatnot. And a lot of people end up doing New Game Plus on hard difficulty because they already went through the entirety of the first game, and then they want to see what it is like hard, but they start out with like all this stuff first. So that'd be interesting. If they do end up coming out with New Game Plus, I will definitely do that on the channel. The main series itself is going to be a little bit of a little something else. I can tell you that. For the next couple of months, my channel is going to be only be Assassin's Creed Origins. Unscripted boss battles. Variety of boss encounters. They have at least enjoyed some bearing on the side of realism. Such encounters ranged from Vicious Caesar Cesare Borgia and Brotherhood to deadly man of warships and Black Flag. Al-Mualim in the original feature more fanatical side due to the Pieces of Eden and the reveal of Assassin's Creed Origin context. While this is true, it does look even more interesting, or it seems more interesting in my opinion, that these are like dream sequences. There's no way in heck that these things are going to be in real life. It may be something Bayek gets drugged with. We're not really sure on that. Dark Souls combat. That part is 100% true. Enemies are now leveled will be even more powerful than before, meaning the player must be a certain level themselves to take them on. Top of that, no longer have an attack and counter system at play. It's based on Dark Souls. You can attack and you can counter. I know what they're trying to get at there, but you can still do the same. You can't do the same thing the same way, but you can still do the same thing. If that makes any sense. Like, you can still attack people and you can still parry them. You just can't. It's not as easy anymore. And we have a dodge roll. Let's see. 3, stealing from the best. It has taken to learn many concepts recently popular and acclaimed games fitted in Assassin's Creed Origins. Particular Dark Souls style combat comes into mind, but what else? Crafting, survival, Horizon, The Witcher 3, Zelda. Yeah, Origins does feel like a lot of those games, but from what Sinnerstrain 01 has said, or has played, he said it's its own experience. While the game does have certain elements that may feel like they're from other games, it gives it its own experience. I, for one, cannot imagine. I hated the combat in Assassin's Creed 2. I cannot imagine. It would be interesting to see Dark Souls controls in Assassin's Creed 2. That would be a little interesting there. No end in sight. What does that mean? Actually, okay. Assassin's Creed Origins, retreading old ground, birthplace of the Brotherhood, appears to be strict emphasis placed on this being complete prequel to all the time periods in the series lore. This is fine, one can't but question why Ubisoft is making this drastic decision to go back after 10 years. This issue is not the prequel decision so much as is the fact that with each release the games were getting closer and closer to present day. That is true. Syndicate went from Victorian London to World War I. In their settings, this is the first time series has jumped further back to a whole nother era. It seemed inevitable it was going to culminate once it got to our time. It seems now that the series is not any closer to reaching its ultimate conclusion. That was my question as well. My question is, what's next? After Assassin's Creed Origins, you have the beginning, and if some fan theories are believed, this fan theory is by Long-Eared Fox. You should go check them out. The apple in Origins is the one from the first game, and at the end of the game, Bayek supposedly goes to Jerusalem and gives off the burden to somebody else, and he drops it in the Ark of the Covenant, which leads into the first game. Altair finds it, and that puts the full series in motion. However, the question is, what is next? This is the Black Flag dev team. I love Ashraf Ishmael. I love all of those guys. I really wish Darby McDevitt was the writer, but he's not. So it will be very interesting to see where they go next. I have a feeling that the modern day is going to have some sort of play with that. I really hope it's not just a bunch of cutscenes, and I really hope that we are not just stuck in like an Abstergo employee. I really hope that we play as a person that actually matters. But you know, it's whatever. Thank you guys for watching. If you like my video, Please feel free to subscribe if you want to keep up with everything. And I'll see you guys next time.